we need to, I don't know how to quite get into Paul. Paul was very, very wonderful. First I need to explain, when I started Doctor Who, I had no idea there were movies. There's 3 movies total. The first 2 were shit. I do a movie review on them. Seriously, don't watch them. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even watch the second one. They were that bad. The first one was horrendous. And it was literally, they recasted the Doctor. I don't even know who plays it. No one knows who they played because he wasn't the Doctor. He filled in for William Hartnell, who the role belonged to, because they wanted to appeal to a younger generation. So they recasted the role. They brought in Susan. Susan is the Doctor's granddaughter. But instead of her being like 17, 18, like she is supposed to be in the show, they made her 8 years old. So you have this random 8-year-old girl running around in the middle of a Dalek invasion, which really just did not rub me the right way. Because I'm going, there's Daleks everywhere and you're putting children in here. Daleks wouldn't hesitate. They would have slaughtered her. So that was like you really need to reconfigure. The first movie was terrible. And there was nothing unique to the first 2 movies. It was just a retelling of the series. So, and it wasn't the retelling of the series. It was the Dalek invasion. Like, the one of the primary things with the Daleks. There's like 3 major Dalek episodes over the whole 8, all of them. There are 3 primary episodes. And not even episodes, they're like 10 episode arcs. They're huge chunks of the Dalek history. There's the first meeting of the Daleks when the first Doctor discovers the Thals and the Dals. And he meets the Thaleks, who inform them what the Daleks are and the relationship between the two. And how both of these species comes from Scala. So there's that. The second one is the invasion of Earth, which is again like a 7-10 episode arc where the Daleks invade future Earth. And I often, this is again first Doctor, I often joke that Susan, his granddaughter, was so horrifically whiny that he was annoyed with her and purposely dumped her on a planet infested with Daleks. And he did too! He really did! So that was always Susan bothered him so much that he dumped her on a Dalek infested planet. So yeah, we need to do a whole nother thing just on whiny companions and top companions. We have a whole thing just on companions. So, I'm talking about the Paul McGann. So, this is the 3rd movie. I didn't know there was a movie. I had no idea. I was looking forward to the 8th Doctor, and then there was this whole Paul McGann got into the picture, and I'm like, oh, it's a movie, 1999. All right. So I sat down and I'm like, how old was I? I was 19 years old when this movie was made. So I rewound my brain back to 1999 and tried to think of, okay, what was television like? All right. And I was able to piece something together. I'm American, so I know UK and all the other countries have their own rating systems and how they do. So what they are and are not allowed to show on television. So I'm like, all right, this is really nice watching, UK version of the 1990 television. It was really interesting. So... and this is going out to my beloved friend, Tim Bateson. I don't know what your problem was, dude. I love the movie. Okay, that being said, I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. If you remember that it's from 1999, it was very, very good. There was only one moment where I'm like, really, this is kind of cheesy? Okay. One moment that just... So... it starts off with Stephen, and I'm not telling you spoilers. This is going to be done without spoilers. My goal is to just reflect on the Doctor's personality and Paul McGann's performance. So that being said, go forth, listen to this video without fear that I'm not going to be spoiling anything. So the movie does start off with Sylvester McCoy. So you do get to see the transformation from one Doctor to the next. How and where, I won't get into that. But the way you do see Sylvester McCoy. You do see so Scottish names, McCoy, McGann. You do see Sylvester McCoy. You do see him regenerate into Paul McGann, and he came to, and I'm like, okay, right away I liked him. There was no warming up to him. I loved him right away. There was no defining as my Doctor, like there have been with a few others, but it was definitely an okay. There was nothing that immediately set me off where I went, and that's not the Doctor. So that was okay. He's wandering around with a sheet, and I'm trying to figure out I'm going to be blunt, and I'm sorry. It doesn't really ruin the plot. It's not really plot related. the Doctor does have amnesia. So there's this one moment where he is kneeling on the floor, the lightning is going off, there's a thunderstorm, and he raises his hands to the sky, there's like a sheet draped over his body, you see a bare naked chest, you see the sheet over him like wings, and he goes, "Who am I?" And there's like lightning and thunder. That was the cheesy, stupid, really, Hollywood? Really? That was it. It wasn't even Hollywood, it was BBC. How dare you! No, wait. This was a US production. Hollywood. How dare you! So, that was your moment of kind of stupid, kind of cheesy, alright, 1999 television. But take that out. The rest of the movie I loved it. I loved it. So this is a question of whether or not the movie was legitimately cheesy, and I really would love to know people's opinion on this, because I'm watching this going, I love Bruce Campbell, so, I love Ed Wood, alright, now that's TV. I love Ed Wood, love him. So, now don't get me wrong, I also have high standards. I love Charlton Heston, love Marlon Brando, love him. So, I don't know if I'm just biased, if my opinion is skewed, if I'm an American with shitty television taste. I don't know. So I'd love to get input on this one, whether or not the 1999 movie Doctor Who was crap or not. I loved it. There was action, there was adventure, there was mystery and plot twists and plenty of oh my god moments. I loved it. Now that being said, the character. Paul McGann mastered the role. Almost immediately, he was the Doctor. He was the Doctor. He was almost as good as Tom Baker. He was phenomenal. Seriously. I'm sitting there, I could, easily. When I watched Tom Baker, when I watched Patrick was, here. And everyone else, down here. Nothing compares to Patrick. But then, okay, that's jump between. Because then I got to Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor, and I was halfway through, I'm I don't know who I love more. By the end of the episodes, I went, Tom Baker, I love more than Patrick. But this much. Then, an episode later, I went, or when Tom Baker regenerated into Peter Davison, I went, Patrick. No, I still love Patrick. Because Tom Baker does not evoke that emotion from me. I love him. But Patrick evokes that giddy stupidness in me. I love Patrick. So that being said, Paul McGann reminds me so much of Doctor 2 and Doctor 3 crammed into the same person. Now, the reason why this is funny, if you go back to the three Doctors, all the way back with John Pertwee's performance, the three Doctors, it's the first time they united. There's the three Doctors, the five Doctors, and the two Doctors so far. Is that the fourth Doctor? No, there's not the fourth Doctor, not yet. The two Doctors are the three Doctors is when they bring William Hartnell. This is when William Hartnell was still William Hartnell, which I'll explain in a moment. They brought in Patrick Stewart. I'm not. I love Star Trek. Patrick Troughton. They brought in Patrick Troughton, and they brought in Tom Baker. Okay, maybe I should go back and watch some Star Trek now. So they had them all together. And at this point, William Hartnell was definitely at the end of his career. He was definitely very ill. So they had to keep him off stage. He had an appearance off stage talking to John and Patrick through this monitor. Now, here's what you need to understand. The show is The Three Doctors, the episode is, but really it was just John and the second and third regeneration talking to each other. John and Patrick. Now, when Patrick made his presence, he was wearing this. The producer, in Ode to Charlie Chaplin, had him dressed as the Tramp by Charlie Chaplin. It was an absolute ode to the role. So they purposely, when the first Doctor regenerated, Patrick awoke, and Patrick was definitely the shortest of all the Doctors. He was the shortest. He was also definitely the most. Well, you know that moment when the Doctor regenerates and the first thing he does is look for his new outfit and style? Patrick didn't do that. Patrick just kept wearing the same outfit. Even though it was 2 times too big for him, he kept wearing it. Which is another reason why I loved Patrick. There was no style. He just, good enough for me. The sonic ring falls off his finger. Oh, that's big. I'll turn it into a screwdriver. That's where the screwdriver comes from. So, it was so funny. So there was no stop into the dressing room and learn his own style. He just didn't care. He just kept wearing William Hartnell's clothes. So he came off looking like a hobo, the Tramp, by Charlie Chaplin. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who did not like Patrick's role, for whatever reason, did a lot of bashing and called him a clown. So with that being said, in The Three Doctors, at one point John and Patrick are sitting there screaming at each other. They do not get along. But boy, were they just screaming back and forth, and they're bickering. And at one point, John just looks at the doctor, looks at Patrick and says, you clown? And it cracked me up because I'm just like, yeah, that's what everyone was saying about him at the time, that he looked like a clown. But he wasn't. He was, to Charlie Chaplin. Do your history. So, I'm talking about Paul McGann. So, to understand Paul McGann, you must understand the rivalry between Doctors 2 and 3. They did not get along. Not even a little bit. In fact, William Hartnell had to come back and slap them both and say, hey, get along. And one of my favorite moments is the companions are looking at Doctor 2, Doctor 3, and they brought their companions with them. So, like, Sarah Jane is standing there with Jamie. Jamie doesn't recognize the John Pertwee. Sarah Jane doesn't recognize Patrick. And the companions are like, who is this? And both doctors, me. It really is great. They did not get along. So I'm going to say Paul McGann was literally a combination of the two of them. It looked like they took that goofy, open woo from Patrick with that stern opera look, and they merged it together to get Paul McGann. I adored John Pertwee's character. I adored Patrick's performance. Love the two of them so, so much. So to see them kind of merged in Paul McGann's performance, stunning. So I honestly, I think that might be my prejudice towards the character, was because, not my prejudice, my being biased towards the character, was because I saw two performances of some very talented actors go into this one man, and I'm like, and of all the people, he is literally Doctor 2 and Doctor 3 crammed into one. And there is no sugarcoating that. There is no, okay, so that might be why I'm partial to the movie. So, this is a little side topic with me. I kind of like Puccini a little bit. I mean, like, a lot of it. Like, okay, what is it I wrote? If my soul had sound, it would be Puccini. That is me. If you know Puccini, then you know me. I adore Giacomo Puccini's operas. So, that being said, the whole 1999 film revolves around Puccini's music. So I'm sitting here listening to it within the first 2 seconds of the film, and I'm like, no! And then that just kind of kept going, and it's, oh my God, I'm a sucker for Puccini. So that might be something contributing to my opinion of the film. Again, I'd love to hear what other people think, because I really don't know if the movie was that bad, if I was biased. There's a lot that I just loved about the film. I loved his wardrobe, loved his face, loved his hair, loved the characters. The one thing that was, and this is really where I want to step back now and go, okay, let's take a look at the character. We discussed the character. This is what they did with it was phenomenal. There was some stuff introduced with this film that has never been discussed before. And I'm already I saw it with Christopher Eccleston, and I definitely saw it with David. Could David keep his lips off of people? I mean, what is that? So that's what I want to talk about right now. I made it through Doctors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 doctors. Yes, 6. Not once was there mention of any sexual, any relationship. Not at all. Not at all. The only hint of anything was between Ian and Barbara, who were 2 school teachers in the very beginning on Totter's Lane with William Hartnell in episode 1, when these 2 school teachers were discussing their student, Susan, and they came together and addressed Susan's grandfather, who was really upset for their meddling, and they're like, look, your granddaughter is very intelligent. She's been missing from school. We want to talk to you about it. And he goes, no, leave me alone. And he runs into his phone box. And they're like, oh, no, you don't. And they open the box before they realize they should probably lock it. And so they added that in the second episode. They walked into the box, and it is so much bigger on the inside than the outside. And that is how they met the doctor. And the doctor was not happy to have people with him. So that is how Ian and Barbara that's how the doctor started with his companions. So when it was all done and said, 3 years later, it was 1963, and he drops them off in England, 1968. And this is funny because they worked it into the plot. Whatever year it is in real life when these things were made is the year when he's in modern England, modern London. That is the year that it is in the show. So if he were to land, if there was to be an episode in London in the present day, then it would be 2016 in the fall present day. So that being said, when he picked them up, it was 1963 London. When he dropped them off, it was 1968 London. And they're like, well, we have to explain where we've been for like 2 years. There was definitely a little romance happening between the two characters, and it kind of alluded that Ian and Barbara got married later on and started a relationship, because there was a lot of hint that, oh, they're going to think we ran off together for 2 years. Oops. And that was definitely on there in the forefront of their mind. You definitely saw that happening. So with the exception of Ian and Barbara with the first Doctor, there was not a drop, not a sign, not a hint of romance. There certainly has never been any discussion, thought, or anything regarding the Doctor having a sexual identity or being attractive. That just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You just get that out of your mind. In the sixth Doctor was the first mention. It was great. I'll never forget it. They were climbing a cliff with Perry and the Doctor were climbing. I hate Perry. They were climbing a cliff, and the Doctor is pushing her up onto his shoulders, and she puts her knee down, and he goes, and he pushes her up, and she gets to the cliff, and she's helping him climb up, and he's doing this whole. She's like, I'm so sorry. Sorry. No, really, I am. It's not like you use it anyway. I only got the one. Well, you can pull something off of any of the other corpses around here. Yeah. And he sits down and he pulls a pocket watch out of his vest. He turns it and it shatters. So that is it for sexual content. That is it. So it was such great dialogue. It's not like you use it anyway. I've only got the one. Well, pull it off of one of the corpses. I'm sure one of them have it. And he just looks at her like, you think I can just pull one of these off a corpse? It's a pocket watch. It was great. So that was him. That was the Doctor and his sexual life in one. That's it. So Paul McGann comes in, and I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, okay, and there's definitely romance in the air, and I'm like, whoa, this is weird. Since when do we think about the Doctor like that? And it was weird. It was like, the Doctor has a sex life? The Doctor doesn't have a sex life. He has a granddaughter. I know he's got a granddaughter. I know he was married and had a family, but dude, since when does the Doctor? And then I just think of John Pertwee, and I think of William Hartnell, and I'm just like, no. And then I think of the sixth Doctor, and the fifth Doctor was, okay, Tom Baker was nice. Patrick was entertaining. John Pertwee had definitely a sophistication. I can see him being very attractive when he was younger. Sylvester McCoy, the seventh Doctor, no. Again, entertaining, wonderful, respectful man. Sex appeal? The Doctor does not have sex appeal. Thank you. So that being said, Paul McGann comes into the thing, and I see 2 and 3 all kind of merged into this one man, and he's okay looking. He's kind of attractive, and they start this relationship rolling with the companion. I'm just like, whoa. Did they just kiss? Who would kiss the Doctor? That's kind of gross. That's where I was. So suddenly the Doctor has a romantic life. That's still really, really weird. So I finished the movie, and this is something I'm going to trail on to the others because it kind of ties into everything. And Christopher Eccleston graces the thing, and it's very heavy with the hints and the suggestions with Rose, and I'm like, since when is the Doctor hot? The Doctor's not hot. The Doctor's never been hot. Never! Not even when he was at his hottest was he ever hot. So here's Christopher Eccleston sporting his leather jacket, and I can see it now. You don't get to see Christopher Eccleston picking out his wardrobe. It's like you see everybody else and not Patrick, because Patrick doesn't change his clothes. But you don't see that moment where the Doctor goes through a wardrobe. So what I see with Christopher Eccleston is he pulls out a leather jacket, and I can see him going, hey, I've got a leather jacket, and I've got this face. I can pull this off finally. Yeah! I can be cool! I can see him doing that. So for me, the leather jacket was, I need to save all this for later, but when they start getting into that romance thing, I'm just like, is she kissing the Doctor? Who kisses the Doctor? That is definitely, and then I got into David Tennant, and his lips are all over the place. And I'm just like, what the frick is it? 1999 rolls around, suddenly everyone's got to kiss the Doctor. Ew! Ew! If you knew what I knew about that man, ew! Just not hot. He's like my grandfather, and you're kissing him. Ugh. So that's yeah. So Paul McGann, that was my first. That really was the massive forefront when I was introduced to the Eighth Doctor, was suddenly the romance is there. And I did see that it continues. And the more it continues, apparently, the stronger it gets. So I'm really hoping they just kind of cut that off with Matt Smith, because I know Matt Smith gets involved with his lips all over the place, too. Maybe it's just David Tennant. I don't know yet. But, oh, good God, what's with the kissing? So, and like I said, I look at them, and all I can think of is Patrick, John, Tom Baker, William Hartnell, Peter Davison, Colin Baker. This man is not hot. Sorry, gentlemen. Okay, the accent is nice. But I'm just, what are you doing? It's the Doctor. The companions are supposed to be hot. Like Jamie. I love Jamie. Kiss Jamie! Okay. Loved Paul McGann. Loved him. Really loved him. Loved him. Now, that being said, also with the movie, I felt like it was very much a transition. I started that movie and I just went, whoa, we are so not in Gallifrey anymore. What is this? Like, it definitely, you could feel that gap, which brings me to another point with Doctor Who. This is one I've been debating whether or not I should sit back and explain this to you, or should I write an article? This one's been all over. I think I'm going to explain it later, because this is like a huge what you get from Doctor Who. I'm going to say it now because it's just insane. By watching all of them, you get this kind of with Star Trek, but there's too many gaps in Star Trek. There are too many gaps in Star Trek. You don't get this with Doctor Who because there are no gaps. There are no gaps, people. It's wonderful. You get this solid 1963 television all the way up to the 1989, 1988. You get a solid chunk of TV, almost 30 years, undisturbed. You feel like you are in the TARDIS, and you get to transform to each and every one of those eras in chronological order. You see the hairstyles change. You see the personalities change, the politics, the... Holy crap. That was an experience. Doctor Who aside, if you just look at the cinematography of it all, that is an experience. Watching 30 years of our history, 20 of which I wasn't even there for, pass before my eyes. That is why you should watch Doctor Who. Like, seriously, it was astounding. I'm sitting there just going, you could see Nixon, you could see, what was that? I remember there being a moment with Nixon, a vote for Nixon, trust Nixon, he's a great man. I remember that being in the 1970s issue, but it was after Watergate, like right after Watergate. So it was supposed to be a joke in the show right after Watergate that shows, oh, well, you should have voted for Nixon, he was a good man. But in hindsight, like 2 years after the Watergate incident, that was aired, or maybe it was 6 months after the Watergate, or maybe it was aired during the Watergate. That's just it. It's like watching Forrest Gump in slow motion. Like, it was astounding, but it wasn't fiction. It wasn't fiction. It wasn't us today trying to recreate all these eras. It was very much, you saw 1963 and 64, 65, 66, 67. You saw television change with the moon landing. You saw Vietnam begin. You saw the impact of that. You saw the Cold War start up. You can see how it changes and influences the television. It was astounding. By watching Doctor Who from 1963 to its end, you watch 30 years of our history through the England's point of view, through UK's point of view. Phenomenal. I'm an American. I grew up with the American textbooks. I remember the Blitz. I'm sitting there watching the Blitz, the English Blitz. I have no idea what that is. American schools suck. So I'm sitting there going, English Blitz, London Blitz? What is that crap? So I had to look it up, and I'm sitting there on Wikipedia. What's going on? Oh my God! Yeah, like I said, American schools suck. So I'm just like, oh my God. But it just, wow, and if you think about it this way, that had happened only 10, 20 years after. I have to go back on the dates. 45 is when the war ended, 45 to 63. So that only just happened. My math skills suck too. So 1945, that happened. 1963, it's already happened, and I'm watching from that point on. It is really like, whoosh, watch Doctor Who. So anyway, all right, I'm done with Paul McGann. I'm going to move on to Christopher Eccleston now.